Now it's getting a little bit late and I'm struggling standing up. You remember I slipped over on the ice and it's hurting me. So I'm going to sit at the bench here and show you a couple of electronic things that might be useful. Let's get on with it. Now, one of the things that's frustrating to me is when I buy stuff online and it comes in a little package like this, and I throw it in my drawer, this drawer, and then I dig around looking for it and I think, oh yeah, that must be it, and I grab it and it isn't it. And it's only a little drawer and there really isn't much in it. And then I can't find whatever it is I was looking for. And I think, oh, well, I must have used them all. And so I order another one. Yes, it gets expensive if you keep doing that. Well, what these are, I thought I'd show you. And I'll try and remember to put the link in the description. There is a whole bunch of resistors to go in series with the little lights that they've given us. But this is an unusual one. What they've done here is they've said, if you're going to use 3.5 volts to 5 volts, use this resistor. That's nice of them. And if you're going to use between 5 and 9 volts, use this one. And if you're going to go and use between 9 and 14, so 12 volts, use this one. And I could have a quick look and figure out what values they were, but that's unusual. I've not seen people do that before. Now, what we've got in here are LEDs. Now, are they the most tiny thing you've ever seen, or what? Can you actually see that even? I don't know if you can actually see that. Let me put a piece of card behind it so that you can perhaps see it. That's tiny. Yeah, I don't think I've seen them that small. They work lovely. Little tip with anything like this. Lot of out of focus shots tonight. Sorry about that. These wires are covered up with enamel, and it would be very tempting to cut them to the length you want, and then try and get the enamel off and tin them up and resolder them. My advice is, if at all possible, leave them the length they are. There's another reason for that. Sometimes they use what's called lights, L-E-I-T-Z or L-E-I-T-Z, depending which side of the Atlantic you're from. And it's a bit like conductive fabric is the way I describe it. Virtually impossible to solder to. That's not this. I intentionally don't have any of the stuff. It's terrible. Very, very flexible. The sort of stuff they use in some tiny microphone cables. So solder to the end of these. These were really cheap. I'm going to pop it back in the bag with the other 50 that are in there. I'll put those away. Well, I'm going to stop the camera and do it now. Well, that was easier said than done. They don't go back in the packet. What I'm going to do is just fire one of these up for you. So we'll hold the wire, solder a resistor on the end of it. I'm going to keep my finger there, not because I'm trying to solder to my finger, but because I want the camera to focus. A couple of you have mentioned I solder well. Well, I should. It was my job. A couple of tips with soldering. Remember physics. Heat rises, so there's no point in putting the soldering iron on top. Put it underneath. Second thing, put a little bit of solder on the iron. I'm trying to keep it in focus. I really am. Looks like I'm burning myself. I'm not. The reason we have solder on the iron is two things. First of all, there's a little bit of flux that gets flowing around, which stops the oxidization. It's all very technical, don't worry about it. But the biggest thing is that it gives surface area. So when you put this onto the wire, which already is tinned, I can see it, but I'm going to do it again just to show you. The idea is to get some heat into the wire, and the liquid solder there just gives a little bit more surface area. So heat on, solder in and out, as quick as that, that's done. Now if I tried to do that with a dry tip, I'll try the other one. I've cleaned the tip off, but it's dry. So there's no solder on it, and I'm going to try that again. See, it's not working because the wire is not hot enough. You've got to get heat from the tip of the iron into the wire. Now if I just put a daub of solder on again, so there's a liquid on the end of the iron. Now I put that liquid, now that solder is not going to make the joint. That's just getting the heat from the iron into the wire. Up, hot, tip and out. So that's done now. And it took a little bit of solder from what I was holding. Now that solder there is dead because the flux has been used up. So I'm just wiping that off. And I wipe it off on that sponge there, which is wet. It's no good trying to do that on a dry sponge. It really is wet. I just wet it. The other way of doing it is this. It's a pot of swarf. You just jam your soldering iron in it and it cleans the end off. And I don't care what they tell you. Please don't try this at home, but this is how we always used to do it. Just flick it off with your finger. You actually don't feel it. It doesn't even feel warm, but I'm not going to tell you to do that. That's bad habits. So I want a resistor. Use a sponge or some swarf. I'm flapping the soldering iron around. So tinning up there, we've got, we need a little bit of solder on the wire. You can't see that. And you notice I have something underneath the joint. Even though I've been doing this for years, you just get into the habit of putting something underneath. And there is a little bit of solder there. Can you see that? Right there. That's the bit I just flicked off with my finger. Now I'm gonna put a resistor in there. I'm trying to solder through the lens. So the wire is tinned, and so again the solder on the iron is not making the joint. It's heating the two wires that already are tinned. And again, finger in there just to get the focus. I'll try and wait until it's in focus before I actually do this. There you go. There you go. That's as quick as that. And that's perfectly strong. If I were using that in a circuit, I could use that. It's a good joint, but the trick is always to have a mechanically strong joint. Don't rely on the solder. Now then, you didn't come here for soldering lessons, I'm thinking. So here's our battery with the wires again. Well, we don't need this anymore, do we? And again, in these temporary situations, this is the one you saw me make the other day. It will come apart just as easily. There you go, all done. And now I'm going to hook that on the end of the resistor. There we go, all done. Except I don't want it on there, I want the red one on there, which is down here. You can't see that, can you? I'm desperately trying to keep you in focus. It's very difficult. But once you get competent and comfortable with the soldering iron. And again, you can make these temporary circuits as quickly as that. I have a breadboard. That's a breadboard where we stick the individual components in there when we're making circuits up. So what we've got here, I've moved the red wire over to where it's supposed to be. And when I touch, you can probably see the light coming on. There's our tiny little warm white LED. That is amazingly small. So what we've succeeded in doing so far is showing you how to avoid burning your fingers and make a couple of joints. Magnetic reed switches. These were expensive because it says HO scale with matching magnets. I had no idea when I got these or where they came from. There will be a link in the description to the more recent ones I've ordered. They're here somewhere, I just can't put my hand on them. And as I say, that gets annoying. So I think I got 10 of them just recently. I have no idea how much they are. It'll be on the screen about now. So you and I are finding out together. Let me get one of these out of the packet. This may take a moment. I'll be right back. Yeah, we'd have been there a while. Double-sided tape, and they've taped them to the plastic bag. Let me just get one of these out. These are a little bit delicate, he says, tearing them out. There we go. Boy, I don't want you... That's icky. It's all sticky. And the magnets are all glued together too. That's stupid. They stick together, people. They're magnets. Right. Let's put the magnet there. It's not going anywhere. And this is a reed switch. Not helpful that there's a whole bunch of goop all over it. I'll try and get that off. Just so we can see in there. So what this is, you should be able to see inside. There's a couple of bits of metal there. You see them shiny? And if I turn this thing around, yeah, it's a mechanical switch encased in glass that operates using a magnet. So what could we possibly use that for? Well, first of all, let me hook up a wire to one of these. Bit of solder on one end. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't matter. You've seen me do it before. And I'm just hooking up black wire to the other end. Got it. So there it is in the circuit. Now, if I use some crocodile clips, here we go. I'll explain the circuit in just a moment. Let's get this solder out of the way. So what I've got here is a battery whose red wire goes up there to our brand new LED with a resistor in one of the legs. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to hook a crocodile clip to the resistor. There we go. And if I hook this other end to the black wire, the LED should come on. He says, there it goes. But if I put it the other side of this reed switch, it won't come on. There we go. It didn't. Until I wave my magnet beside it. Watch this. Here comes a magnet. You see that? And I'm fairly far off it. You see that? So, what could we use that for? Well, let me show you. If we were to put the magnet on the bottom of the train, like that, and we were to put this between the tracks, and it'll take me a minute to do that, but let's do it anyway. Almost forgot about you. So while you weren't looking, I just soldered a bit of wire on the other end of that reed switch instead of using a crocodile clip, and I'm just threading this roughly through the rails. Have I done that right? Yeah, it doesn't matter which one we use right now. A little bit too many sleepers. Somewhere there. Something like that. There we go. Now, the orientation of this thing doesn't have to necessarily be this way. If you were installing this properly, of course, you'd bend the wires down there and there. I want to use this thing again, so I know better than to bend the wires very often close to the glass, because you'll crack it. So now, one wire, this one, goes off to the battery, and I'm just joining the other one to that crocodile clip we were using earlier. So our whole circuit looks a bit Heath Robinson-ish. Do you know who Heath Robinson was? Google him. So battery, red wire going up to the LED and back down again. Resistor can be in either side, it doesn't matter. Convention says put it in the red side, doesn't matter. Comes down through the white wire, through the reed switch, and back to the battery. Now, no light, but I don't know if this is going to work, but there is a magnet hiding in the bottom of that train. I don't know how strong this magnet is, but when the train goes over the switch, what? Look at that, you see it worked? So as the train goes over that switch, the light comes on. Can you see the applications? I'm sure you can. If you had, this is a metal train, which is why I chose to use it, but you could glue that on there, it would work just fine. Crossing barriers, put a blue one in there and that will flash as simply as that. Now, of course, if the train parks on it, it's going to stay on. Arcing circuits, that sort of thing, used in all sorts of applications. So a reed switch, there we are. We learned about reed switches, and as simply as that. So what have we done today? Reed switches, soldering, tiny little LEDs. Obviously these are, I mean, they are microscopic. The ones I used on the pub sign, I'll show you because there's going to be somebody new to watch that hasn't seen it. See, that pub sign is lit up by a couple of LEDs. There's one on each side. It would have been a whole lot easier if I had these tiny little things. Wow. So technology is really helping us. These are bright. As I've said before, but I will say again because I know there's so many new viewers, these are not light bulbs, and so you cannot just dim them by adding resistors. You can knock the sharpness off the top end of the brightness by adding another resistor, but really they're either on or off. The way of dimming them is very complicated. That's one of their drawbacks. Now, these magnets are actually quite big. The ones I got with the link that I will put in the description, I wish I could find them. That's really frustrating. But they're basically the same thing, just in different or no packaging. So those kind of magnets are known as neodymium magnets. It's a big name, it just means strong. And cheap as chips. Just a quick video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed already, please do. We get into all kinds of trickery and stuff. The layout's right behind me here. You've seen a train run. You saw this going along the test track. Yes, we've still got a little bit of a problem with the big station. So that's why I can't run trains tonight. I've got the canopies parked where they shouldn't be. But we'll have a look at a train. How about that? I'm not making train noises. Oh, all right then. Well, it looks like you're going to get to see 2 trains running because they both reverted to 3 while I wasn't watching. So the class 40 is going to head off out, and the tank's going to come into the station. That's frustrating. Well, you saw them run. That's frustrating because the programming track is crammed full. So all I can do really is back them up again. I'm going to have to change those chips, aren't I? The third one, the goods, did not do that. So it's a mystery why it does it, but it does. There we are. You've seen a couple of trains move. Well, thanks for watching. I'm going to do some research and find out why those chips lose their programming before I lose my mind. Subscribe and like, do all that good stuff, and we'll get back on with the station repair, which is right down there underneath you, in the next one, I expect. See you soon.